Hey, Mark here. I have a really cool giveaway for you. I have 5 digital copies of Smile 2 up for grabs. And let me tell you, this movie's legit. It's one of the best horror sequels I've seen in a long time. Naomi Scott puts in an Oscar-worthy performance. She's excellent in it. And it's just a really good, ambitious, and scary, and just it's a heck of a ride. It's a good time. And I'm really happy to be running this giveaway because it's an awesome movie. So if you want to win a copy, just shoot me a message and be like, hey, Mark, I would like a copy of Smile 2. I'll put you in the running and you might win a copy. But it's totally worth it because Smile 2 is awesome. So yeah, bring home Smile 2 on digital now. In this terrifying thriller, an unknown force is latched onto global pop star Sky Riley as reality and her nightmares collide. By the film critics are calling the scariest movie of the year by a mile, and get over 40 minutes of bone-chilling extras including deleted scenes and more. Available at participating retailers, rated R from Paramount Pictures. Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who's going to help me with my Insidious agenda. It's David Cross.
Spooky.
I can't watch these movies at night, David Cross.
Really? I did. Well, here's the thing though. It was only night halfway through. It's so like late in the summer or early in the summer. It was like
Good point.
9:30 where the sun went out. But then here's the problem, Mark. As soon as the sun went down, it hit that third reel, and I was like, "Uh-oh."
You know, I watched. So David and I are gonna be covering the entire Insidious franchise, the 5 films, because we love it. But I just want to tell the story. I went to a screening of Insidious 2, and I don't think I've ever been more stressed out in a theater. I left the theater with my heart pounding and just feeling like I chugged 4 Celsius and just went through a fun house that was horrifying, got roughed up a little bit, and then ran a mile. Like I was a wreck, Dave, after watching Insidious 2, because it's basically a fun house on top of a volcano, on top of a haunted house, on top of a roller coaster. And I just love James Wan's bonkers aesthetic. And I just love this. I genuinely love this franchise. I really do. I have pitched Insidious articles to every single publication I've ever worked for and been turned down except for one. But it's just a magical 5 film franchise so far.
Soon to be 6.
Yeah. Um,
Hope they greenlit it. I'm pretty sure. So we'll find out. While we're talking about our experience with Insidious, I'll share mine, and I think it's very much the polar opposite of yours. So in 2011, I had just moved to Florida State. I didn't know anyone, and I wasn't watching horror movies. And the reason for that is because I was not a big fan of the quote unquote torture porn, the really aggressive French extremity, like all those like really, really gory hard R stuff. And I saw this and I was like, this is just more of it. I don't care. I don't know why I thought that at the time. So I didn't actually see this movie until this year for the first time. And this was only a couple months ago.
wow.
And then once I watched that first one, I burned through all of them. Like I'm talking like back to back, like one a day until we're done. That's how much I love that first one, especially the second one. The second one's great. So I'm just saying I'm coming at this from a honestly from like a new fan perspective, not as someone who's like been talking about this series for what when did it come out? 2011, 2010?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for over a decade.
Listen, it's and honestly, I don't think that the Insidious franchise gets the respect that it deserves, because after the success of Paranormal Activity, I found this beautiful article from 2011 before everyone was just exploding. And I found this really great article. And they like Oren Peli was talking about the creation of Blumhouse and Jason Blum. There's this great interview. And they said, after Paranormal Activity was successful, we formed a company to produce the kind of horror movies we would like. We wanted to collaborate with the best horror filmmakers out there and help them make the kind of movies they want outside the Hollywood system. A low budget, but also full creative control. James Wan and Leigh Whannell were the first people we talked to. and we asked if they weren't interested. And they gave us a script for Insidious. 4 or 5 months later, we were already shooting. It all just made sense. So Blumhouse is a power player right now. Like they just teamed up with, like, they're giant. They're just a giant like company. And their first film that they greenlit was Insidious. And I was listening to Jason Blum talk about producing, and he said that when they started off making these films, they didn't want new directors. They wanted James Wan. So James Wan made Saw, blew up. But then he made, Dead Silence, he made Death Sentence, and those weren't as big. So he couldn't get other movies made. So he was kind of pissed off. He wanted to make a movie. And they're like, okay, make Insidious. We'll give you $1.5 million and complete creative control. They also got Barry Levinson for The Bay. They got Rob Zombie for Salem. And they got Scott Derrickson for Sinister. So they gave these people like 1 million each, 1.5 million each, 2 million each, and just sent them off on their way to make movies. And I remember when this got released, Insidious, I was like, James Wan is back. Like, I love James Wan. I think he's the most influential. Maybe he and Leigh Whannell are responsible for more horror and bigger box office numbers than anyone this century. I mean, Saw in the franchise, the Insidious franchise, the Conjuring franchise, the Invisible Man, Upgrade, just Aquaman. I'm not just, if we're sticking with horror, Malignant. These guys are it. I think if you had to put like who is responsible, who is the most influential of this century, it's them. There are other shouts, but I just think that's the case. And just watching this film in 2010 and the further, and what I love about this film is they move out of the house when they think it's haunted. That's great. Two, you have Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson, Lin Shaye, I mean, Leigh Whannell, like Angus Sampson, great kid actors, wonderful cast. Barbara Hershey. Then you have just the man with fire on his face, or the red lipstick demon, was horrifying. And it's a story where good people are attacked. It's not their fault. They don't open a cube. They don't kill a fisherman and get attacked a year later. Their parent, like these are good people. There's no malicious people. There's no, aside from the people from the further, there's no outside, like there's no people who are duplicitous. There's no double crosses. I know Patrick Wilson gets taken over at the end of this movie, Insidious, but it's about good people battling evil. And I think Elise is one of the heroes of horror, because Lin Shaye, her when she took over 3 and 4, those are some of the highest grossing films ever to have horror films to have a lead who's over 70, which is crazy. Insidious: The Red Door is the highest grossing fifth film entry in a horror franchise ever. It's crazy. These movies make a ton of money. They're PG-13. They're scary, and they're about good people going against things that are much worse than themselves, out of just being good people. And that's why I love it so much. Like, this is a really influential and cool franchise that, in 2010 when this kicked off, then you had Sinister, then you had this, then you had Get Out in 2014. And then that led the way for The Witch, that led the way for A24, that led the way for Neon. And I'm talking a lot, but I've wanted to talk about this movie for forever. And we've been talking about this series, covering it for about a year now. So yeah, I've just held everything up and I'm letting it out now. But I adore this franchise, and I adore this first film specifically.
Yeah, so I have been thinking about this too, about how this movie specifically changed the trajectory of horror films, and I want to run through my thoughts. I think some of them are similar than yours, but maybe they're more of a pragmatic. Let's take a step back again. I mentioned this up top. Horror was in a very mean place before this movie came out, and I'm gonna say, like, not all those movies are bad, but I didn't like a lot of them, and that's just what it was.
The aughts was nasty.
It was very nasty.
Nasty.
Yeah. And so this movie came out PG-13. There's no gore in this. And so that's like an immediate, like, okay, you're showing studios that you can move away from this like nastiness. What I think is more interesting though is that it reinvigorated the haunted house subgenre, because you know what the subgenre is. You've seen Poltergeist, you've seen Amityville Horror. You just understand, like, they move into a house, a bunch of scary stuff happened in the house. The smartest thing they did was move away from the house and then say, oh, it's not the house, it's you, you're haunted. And I remember that hitting like a bomb when I saw this a couple months ago, and thinking, this is so freaking clever. The writer understands what we as the audience expect and turned it on their head. And then things go even further than that because it's not just like, oh, a typical ghost. It's, oh, you have to go into the further this other realm with demons and ghosts and all this other stuff because that hadn't happened before. Like this was a really fresh take on haunted house horror in 2010.
On top of all that, you know what I love? There's the scene with Rose Byrne in the house, and she hears noises. This isn't the type of film where you can be like, run, run, because you have a baby and your child in the house. So if there's a home intruder, Rose Byrne's not just going to get out of the house and run away. It's not one of these things where you're the only one in the house and there's a door that you can run out of. So it's like we moved out of the house. Our son is haunted. And when people are in the house, our kids are in the house. So we can't leave the house. And that's again why it works so well, because a lot of the dumb decisions are taken out of it. And credit goes a lot to, Oren Peli, to Jason Blum, because if you think about Paranormal Activity, remember when that demonologist comes over and he steps in the house, he's like, whoa, I'm leaving. This is bad. And you're like, well, should we move out? He's like, no, they'll just follow you. Like, just, you're screwed. And that's the brilliance of their films is they're quite intelligent and they're quite well made. And, Sinister has a $1.5 million budget. Insidious has a $1 million budget. And what's great about them is they move into houses. So they don't have to fully dress a lot of the homes because there's a lot of boxes. They can slowly dress a house. They can leave it empty. They know how to work their budgets really well. I actually came across something really stupid, but it's like, I feel like the best Blumhouse movies all feature really great sitting scenes. So Patrick Wilson is going into the further. There's a demon behind him, and Get Out. You have all of the sitting scenes, and Sinister. All he does is sit and watch clips. I think Happy Death Day has some great sitting scenes since the budgets are so low. They keep the sitting scenes to a maximum. So I feel like the best Blumhouse movies all feature excellent sitting. I just want to get that out there, David. It's totally stupid. It probably doesn't make sense, but the best Blumhouse movies need a good sitting scene. That's all I'm putting out there. But this is like just I'm telling you, there was a sea change because this is quite a classy movie. This isn't gratuitous. This isn't. I mean, it's about a father and a son and a mother and a daughter and a mom and a husband, and like it still tells a great tale. And the kid actors are wonderful, and just getting Patrick Wilson. Rose Byrne's Australian, James Wan and Leigh Whannell are Australian, so they pulled her in. They love Patrick Wilson, so they pulled him in, and they just sell it. Like I'm sure they all made money on the back end, but this movie shot in about 20 days. And
Wow, 20 days.
yeah,
I thought it'd be longer than that.
and like you know what Lee Wan, I mean, they only had 1.5 million. You can't stretch that far. And like Leigh Whannell said, the toughest thing about this movie is, when you look at Saw, when you look at Blair Witch, it's handheld. It's a lot of but in this one, what James wanted to control his shots. He's like, by the second day it was impossible. So he like he edited Saw in like a gritty MTV style to hide its small budget, but they knew that Insidious wouldn't work with like an MTV style way with fast cuts to make it work. So a lot of the camera shots are wide. It looks really classy. There's a lot of neat static shots. The camera's moving on a dolly. There's a lot of stick shots. And it doesn't look like a $1.5 million horror film. It looks classy. It looks nice. I would say the cheapest scene maybe takes place in that kitchen in the beginning of the film. But the rest of it, the wide shots that examine the house and linger. Like it looks beautiful for a $1.5 million movie, but that was hard to do because it's really hard to do specific shot selection on a 20-day shoot on a horror movie and make it look classy. Like he wanted it to look classical. And it's just I don't know. I think it just looks so good. And everyone interviewed about this movie is like, it's a really good looking film and it looks much more expensive than it is. And I think that needs to be respected because they put a lot of thought into it and they made it look great. And some people complain about the further being cheap, but I'm like, guys, this is 1.5 million. Like it's not going to be, I don't know. It's not going to be Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's going to be a $1.5 million film. And it looks gorgeous and it works. And it's, I don't know. I really, David, I've been like covering horror for a long time. And I do sense the sea change with this. I really do. And that makes me happy. Also, Patrick Wilson's great. And so is Rose Byrne and Ty Simpkins. And how great is Elise? Is Elise just not like the one of the greatest characters ever? She's like into the further we go, and like that quote that she has, like some of them have a more insidious agenda. Oh, I love her so much in this movie. And Tucker and Specs too, man. They're great. They're a sassy little group, and they add some fun humor and hot pockets.
Yeah,
Like
I laughed really hard about the hot pocket thing. I was like, is this cold? It's like, is it? Where did he get the hot pocket from?
just munching on a hot pocket when they come into the house. And you know what's nice? These guys aren't tricksters. They're not. They're not trying to swindle money. These are good people. Like I think in the past in some movies, you do have people who try to steal money or they try to rip off the characters, but there's no ripping off in this. I would say the one plot hole is Barbara Hershey maybe should have told them a little earlier about the whole thing because the kid was in a coma for a very long time, but maybe she didn't want Patrick Wilson remembering, which could have brought back more problems. So it's all just a tight, well-made, fun horror film.
Do you want to talk about James Wan a little bit more,
Yeah,
specifically his
yeah,
career?
yeah.
So recently, I was asked to do a podcast, an episode with a movie seller. They're talking to other people about their favorite directors, and I've been stressing about this because I go back and forth, and I was like, maybe it's James Cameron. Honestly, I love James Cameron's work. You can't bet against James Cameron. Maybe it was the Daniels, but they haven't done enough for me to say they're my favorite directors. Then I watched this film again and I looked at his filmography and I was like, you know what? It actually just might be James Wan. Because if we want to go through his filmography here, Saw, really smart, interesting movie. I didn't really care for the other ones. Dead Silence, I think is better than people think. I haven't seen Death Sentence, so I can't
It's
speak.
nasty. It's a
Is it
nasty little
nasty?
revenge movie.
Okay, so we have Insidious, banger. Insidious 2, banger. 7, Fast Furious 7, high mark in the Fast and Furious series. Conjuring 2, banger. Aquaman, I love it. Not going to be a banger. It's really good, though.
Made $1 billion.
Yeah, yeah. Malignant,
Banger.
again, amazing banger. And then we have Aquaman 2, which for me wasn't great.
No.
But he's batting really high average.
I think for all the problems that Aquaman 2 went through, you give him a pass on that one because just the amount of what COVID and then the Amber Heard, which was weird. And then does DC essentially was like, we're done. So we're just going to release this movie pointlessly when we put it out. So I think there wasn't a lot of, I don't know. I just think I'll give him a mulligan on Aquaman 2
Yeah.
because, yeah, but I mean, this is an interesting filmography, is it not? Like these guys made Saw in Australia in their garage, a short film, and now they run an empire. Like this guy is, Leigh Whannell is branched out. Like James Wan produced Megan, like he and Night Swim, which is a lot of staring at swimming pools. But yeah, he's such an interesting character because of his just love of cinema, and it's like look at the franchises he started. I'm sounding like a broken record, but the Nun made like $350 million worldwide, and he didn't direct it, but he produced it. This guy this guy cashes checks, David.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? He made Malignant, which I feel like was a little bit of a blank check movie, but it was like 40 million, and it made its money back, and everyone loves it. Like this is a guy who didn't go money hungry, take $100 million to make Malignant. His dream project was a 30-40 million dollar gorgeous looking horror film that's an absolute delight. So he's just a guy who, what's important about him is you sense that he just wants to have fun, like the fun house aesthetic. Remember the clapping scene in The Conjuring?
Hmm.
Like this guy just wants to give audiences a good time. He's Saw wasn't even that gory. They didn't even show the sawing of the foot. It's more about the killer and the doctor and appreciating your life. And there's actually a pretty good story to it. So yeah, it's a guy who came up from nowhere and now he's making $1 billion movies. He's one of my favorite directors as well. I think my favorite director is M. Night Shyamalan just because of his story and just how he goes up and down with his films. I think he's the most interesting director to talk about. I also think Zack Snyder's really interesting to talk about his films. But yeah, James Wan is definitely one of my favorites. He's great. And are there any other directors out there who just want to give the audience a good time?
I'm sure there are, but not across this many genres.
Yeah, that's true.
I think most directors want the audience to have a good time. I mean, I say most because some of them are just doing it to cash checks, right?
Yeah.
But I think a good director, their goal is to have the audience be engaged throughout the entire movie. They want to make a good movie. I want to ask what makes Wan a good director? Because in my view, he has a an arresting visual style that when you're watching something by him, you know it's by him because it almost has this video MTV kind of gloss to it, and there's the camera movement that makes like boring things really look cool. And I'm specifically thinking about Insidious when they're going through the house to show, not Insidious, excuse me, Malignant. They're going through
Oh,
the
the
house
spider
from
cam.
yeah, and just going through from the top view, like going above the ceiling to show everyone what's happening. That could have been a very boring shot of a steady cam and someone walking through the house. Instead, he found a unique way to do that. What are your
And
thoughts?
I mean, also too, I think he can make scary movies. I think, you know, some people bag on jump scares, but I think James Wan has taken the jump scare to new heights. I truly believe that. This scene in this movie when the red lipstick demon is behind Patrick Wilson, when his mom's telling him about his past, when Barbara Hershey, Lorraine Lambert is telling Josh Lambert about his past, and then the red lipstick demon's behind him. I I lost 3 years of my life on that. And just when the creature is upstairs going like, I'm gonna get you. There's nothing you can do. I'm gonna get you. Like I'm gonna get you. It's freaky. And when they're in the room and the demon points at the child, or when Elise is explaining the the creature to Specs, like he knows how to create scares. Insidious 2 is just like a fun house. It's hilarious and it's fun. And the jump scares are great. Conjuring 2, what's interesting? He also, in these horror movies, there's a lot of heart. The Lamberts are good people. Elise is a good person. In The Conjuring, in that universe, Patrick Wilson and oh gosh, what are their names? She's Vera Farmiga. They're incredible. They're excellent actors, and they find the heart in their characters. Like in that world, I'm not talking about in the real world. In that world, they are just doing things for good. They're not out for anything else. They are just trying to stop evil. And I think he's able to find that heart there. And also we got to look at the set pieces. Furious 7, building to building to building. Uh, Dwayne Johnson driving off a overpass and landing on a drone. And also too, when you think about that movie, there's a lot of good humor. The humor works and it's fun and it's visually inventive. When you think about Aquaman, it's such a kinetic movie. There's underwater catapults. There's an octopus playing the drums. And I think he just let Jason Momoa have fun. Like you could sense the fun in it. Like when they're walking out of the ocean and Pitbull's playing the Africa remake, you're like, what is happening here? So I think what makes him a good director is you can just feel that his movies are live and he knows how to put together set pieces. He knows how to find just he knows how to find emotion within the horror. And also most importantly is he can create genuine scares in his movies. So for me, that's why he's such a successful director, is because he seems tireless. He's a ball of energy and he genuinely loves movies. So that's why I think he's a great filmmaker.
Yeah, to give you another example of the like his aesthetic that I think really worked, and you can take it from other movies and drop it into Aquaman. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Aquaman, but if you're listening to this podcast, you probably did. There's a scene that is a constant pullout while Jason Momoa runs. So it's the fight scene in the second reel, and essentially you're just watching him run all the way down top of buildings to get to the front of the camera. That could have very easily been multiple shots through alleyways, a lot of cuts, and it doesn't look like that in the movie. And he can do this, right? Like that's what makes his films interesting. He has these scenes that are really like they look more difficult to pull off than they maybe are, but he knows how to do them. I want to chat about the reception of this movie, Mark. So I went through, probably shouldn't have, and I read
Was it? It's like
reviews from the time.
Poltergeist.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to bring up. All the reviews were short. They were all basically like, this is good, but it's a mishmash of a bunch of stuff.
Every horror movie is. Sorry,
B,
Dan.
B, get a B. And it kind of annoyed me. So honestly, like when I was first watching this, I did say it's like, this is like Poltergeist. But I was like, it's also like Amityville Horror. And I had this realization, It's like every haunted house movie is very similar because that's the genre. That's what people expect, right?
Yeah, and can I say I just did a big thing on R-rated romantic comedies, and I figured out that in 100 R-rated romantic comedies, the classy ones, the good luck chucks, out of 11 tropes and characteristics I pulled together, the average was 7.97. So each of all these rom-coms, the average amount of tropes out of 11, it was 8. They all have something in common. That's the playbook. So when you're making a haunted house movie, you're gonna have a haunted house. You're gonna find poltergeist type stuff. You're like, there's only so many beds to look under. Like there's only so many closets to look into. There's only so many old houses. There's only so many hallways. So it's just how do you tell that story? But people are lazy and they just write lazy reviews.
They were pretty lazy. I was pretty disappointed in Ebert's, honestly. It was like 3 paragraphs. And I'm like, dude, you can do better than this. I've seen you do better.
Just you would think you would appreciate that this guy came out with $1.5 million and made this movie. I mean, am I being too defensive over this? I mean, I don't think this movie changed the world, but I hate saying that because nothing changes. Like people are like, it didn't reinvent the wheel. Like how many times has the wheel been reinvented? But it's a movie that it proved to Hollywood and kicked off Blumhouse that if you gave a director full creative control and 1.5 million and back end in 3 weeks, they could go out and make a cool movie. And if they didn't, who cares? Put on Redbox. We just need one hit a year. And so I think they created this really neat thing where directors came, like Jordan Peele got 4 million for Get Out. They just give directors money and they say, here, go create full creative control. We aren't going to meddle with you. James Wan got meddled with on Death Sentence, and man, what's the other one with the doll and the mom and oh gosh, I forget the name. Dead Silence. Like he didn't like working in those studio systems. So this reinvigorated him. And this has been a proving ground for a lot of like Mike Flanagan's made his name with Blumhouse. So this proved that hey, 1.5 million, you can make it look good, you can make it look artistic. It doesn't have to look like it was shot on wax paper, and it can make money. And it can be somewhat classy and it can be good. And I think that's why it's so important. I mean, obviously they didn't know that in 2011. Well, yeah, this did come out in 2011. My bad. Uh, but they didn't know that. I don't know how you watch this and just go, and it's like Poltergeist. Like that's not even a review. That's a comparison.
I mean, just remember this time when horror was not at its best, and
True.
with directors who typically don't love horror anyway, or not directors, excuse me, reviewers. So it just kind of got overlooked, is what my major thinking on it is. I did want to comment on something you said. You know, we've talked about how this movie showed Hollywood how to make smaller films. I think we should caveat that. I think it's really this movie showed how to have success within the horror genre because there's always going to be a dedicated fan base for horror because it's and this showed how other studios how you can make those films and the playbook to be a successful studio. Like you said, you just churn out. You don't churn out, but you put out I don't know 12 a year and you expect one to hit. I don't think that would work for other film genres, right? So like I don't think this would work for comedy. I don't think it would work for romantic comedy. I don't think I'm trying to think of another one. Definitely wouldn't work for action. They're too expensive.
I guess what I meant was this shows you can make a quality horror film for 1.5 million. And it
Yes.
doesn't have to be a slasher. It doesn't have to be this. Like you can add a story in here and you can make it work. And because listen, like horror movies have long been the the what's the word? The kind of workhorse for international cinema as a whole. I mean, ever since the 20s, the 10s, Cabin of Dr. Caligari, you know, just the horror, the monster movies of the 30s, the creature features of the 50s, the atomic age in the 50s. It's a and then the 70s, late 70s, it became the slasher. They've been like the workhorse for it. But I think most importantly, right? Remember in the 2000s, we had Rob Zombie's Halloween, we had Devil's Rejects, we had Hostel, we had Hostel 2, we had Turistas, we had all the zombie movies, we had an infinite amount of horror remakes. There were some great films in between, like The Descent. I'm not saying it was a total wash in regards to horror films, but I was ready for a change. I really was. I was ready for something different, and this felt like something different. This felt like a really this movie has a little bit of prestige to it, and it feels classy and it feels fun, and it's more about the family. It's not about the gratuitous nudity. It's not about the gore. So I think when you watch other films that came out after this, they kind of, and also it set up an interesting template for, okay, we have this budget, we need to be interesting. And like, also too, they got Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson, who were names at the time. They were big names. So with the promise of back end, a 3-week shoot, they're not spending much time on this. So they can get in and out, get some good back end, not get paid much up front. You can churn this out pretty quick in the edit, put it out. Like James Wan edited this movie in his house. He had his assistant editor in the kitchen because it was too hot in the garage. So they edited it in their home, they put it out like a student film. And I think when you watch Sinister, it's Ethan Hawke watching footage. When you watch Purge, it's them looking outside of their house at people outside. They the Witch is very singular. I think, even though that's a different studio, it just really, sometimes you need one film to, I mean, these movies were made, haunted house movies were big in the past, in the 50s and the 80s, but then one film I think can get people going, oh, okay, like we're, these can happen again. We're through the other side of the aughts and we can make these movies. So yeah,
Do
that's,
you do you think this movie is like the proto or maybe the first in the wave of quote unquote elevated horror?
I don't like that term, but but we got to understand where it comes from. So when you think about elevated horror, I mean, you could look at the German films. You could look at the universal horror films of the 30s and the themes that they hid. You could look at the films of the 50s to understand the paranoia, the fear of communism, the atomic age. You could look at the art house films of the 70s, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Jaws, the Rosemary's Baby. There, there's always been elevated horror, but I think we went through such a and once again, Pan's Labyrinth came out in the 2000s. 28 Days Later came out in the 2000s. But we came through such an aggressive time that when these movies started coming out, Insidious and The Witch was when things really changed. Is because The Witch had a very low audience score because it's not a super slasher. It's very methodical. A baby gets turned into goo. It's a nasty, beautiful looking piece of art that drains you, but it doesn't follow the slasher trope. So at that time, I think there became a kind of split between the 80s horror bros and the 2000s hardcore horror bros and ladies. I'm not going to just leave. I'm just going to put people, the horror. What's the, yeah,
Dudes and dudettes.
yeah, the horror dudes and dudettes. They want the chaos of the 80s. They want the chaos of the 2000s. But then you get Hereditary. Then you get It Comes at Night. Then you get these films that are more, have more ideas, and they're less, they're more subtle. They're not going to brain you over the head by a machete. And it's, I think that's when people started, and then those movies became successful, so we got more of those. So I think younger audiences who maybe hadn't experienced these before, we're talking kids in their teens and 20s who maybe grew up with, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes, those kind of films. I think they started seeing these and like, oh, this is a different breed of horror. But I think I don't think they're elevated. I just think that that's maybe what these people first discovered. I mean, because if you're a fan of the genre, you know that's been elevated for over 100 years in certain regards. So that's my problem with elevated horror, because I think it comes from a general lack of knowledge of the overall genre. But if you're 20 and you don't really know any better and you're kind of pretentious and you're in college, you're probably gonna be like, yeah, like The Witch is good. It's like elevated. It's great. It's elevated. And I think that language does get thrown around, so you can't hate it. But I don't. So yes, I guess it did lead to the current craze of elevated horror. But I think horror has always been elevated.
It feels like to me a stepping stone to the rediscovery of adult oriented. I don't, like you said, I don't like the term elevated either. There are a million movies that are fantastic that have great ideas and they're not Katie slashers. Because remember we went through in the 90s, it was the teen slasher genre, the comedy genre, horror influenced. And so it had been 2 decades since we were really getting like really high a steady flow of adult horror that wasn't teen or slasher based.
And you look at the French extreme wave, like Martyrs. That movie has a
Mhm.
message, but it kicks the crap out of you. So even in that regards, you could still watch and enjoy the insane body horror of the movie. But then you have like, and It Comes at Night, or Hereditary features decapitations and everything, but it's still not. It's still very psychological. So yeah, I think that it's just a new wave, and it involves more, like the Babadook, right, where it's more about depression. It brought back the horror as a metaphor, or horror as a way to sneak in a Trojan horse message, like in Raw. Like, and I think that's, and then also I think though that opened the door for people in France to start making movies like Titan and Raw and Infested and an Under Paris, which even has a message. And then that opened up Australia to start making like the Babadook, and then the British coming out and making films like that, and then even like the Canadian audience, South American audiences. I do think that Guillermo del Toro helped a lot in the early 2000s, like The Devil's Backbone. He was out there making really classy horror films, and The Others was good as well. But those were few and far between. Those weren't the norm. So I think now we're getting some really interesting horror films that that I would say people who love only a very specific kind of horror hate. But then people who hate slashers, I had a message on Facebook the other day. A guy's like, I hate the horror genre. It's nothing but hack and slash. I'm like, I don't, that's one very specific genre of horror. That's the slasher. That's the brutal. That's the killing. There's a lot different ways of that. So there's just so many different horror fans who can never agree on things. But also think about being a horror fan in like the 90s and the 2000s. Yes, listen, once again, Guillermo del Toro, The Others, there were some gorgeous horror films being released, but it was kind of hard to defend because you're like, oh yeah, Devil's Rejects or Saw 3 or Saw 4 or Turistas or Rob
Uh,
Zombie's Halloween movies.
House of Wax. I really
House
want
of
everyone.
Wax.
See, I like that movie, but I really want people to understand how mean that film is. And it's a remake of a movie that's not really that mean. It's disturbing. But like someone gets their finger cut off in the middle of the movie, like, and they show it. Ugh.
It was mean. It was that era was very aggressive. And I think as you're a horror fan in that age, you probably have to be a little defensive because most of the stuff that was in the theaters was not. Listen, once again, there were some great films, but I think I was in that age. So I remember what movies were coming out. So
So you keep saying they're great films, but I think what we're really saying is the studio backed major popular movies that had a big marketing push. Those were all similar. While there were other smaller movies that we may not have been able to see, didn't have the biggest
like Session
backings.
9 and stuff.
Session 9, I would love to talk to you about that because I used to remove asbestos for a living. But that's what I'm like getting at. It's like the major studios weren't taking chances,
And
right?
like Resident Evil and just the zombie films. And it was just very, but also it was a very aggressive time. And as a horror fan back then, it was just, it wasn't like it was in the 70s and the 90s and 2000s when horror, there were some really beautiful horror films being released in the 70s, like De Palma and all those people releasing those movies. But yeah, I think nowadays horror is becoming more in a violent nature. Like that guy loves Gus Van Sant's Death Trilogy, so he pursued that idea. Stop motion has this whole like they're taking more chances and making it more artistic and turning it more into a art, but it's cycles, right? So now we're in a cycle where there's some very creative people making some very creative and thoughtful horror films. And I think all it takes is a couple big hits to go back to where we were in the 2000s and 1990s because Hollywood follows the money. But yeah, I keep going around in circles, but I'm telling you, Insidious is just it didn't start it. It didn't kick everything off, but it did definitely help push genre, like the horror genre, into the right direction. Also, too, the nice thing about James Wan is this movie looks great. It's well acted, it's classy, but it's scary. So there are some of these horror films out there that people don't like because they're like, oh, it's not scary. It's just psychological. In this movie, man, you get some big ass jump scares, and you get a super push by Patrick Wilson into that one demon. You get some wild jumps, like that kid with the tulip song running around the house. So this is one where it was 1.5 million. It looked great. It wasn't gory. It was PG-13. There wasn't a lot of gratuitous anything, but it's still scary. So I think that's why it was able to make more than, say, In a Violent Nature, or make more than It Comes at Night, because it somehow walked the line between kind of art house, classy, and still audience pleasing. Because I mean, these movies average 148 million at the box office on $8.5 million budgets. The Insidious franchise. They have to combine scares to make that much money, and they have to be somewhat mainstream. But they also do it in a way that's more sensitive and less violent than most films.
You know what? I think we've talked a lot about like the context and how this movie sits and everything.
We haven't talked about the movie.
We haven't talked about the movie, and I let's dig into the actual things.
Hey,
Do you want to go?
can we lay down like who this franchise is going to be about? Like, can you do like a breakdown of who are the major players, what is being played, what is the further, so we can establish that for the rest of the episodes?
Yeah, so the main characters are really, I don't know their last names, but there's a
The Lamberts.
family, the Lamberts. There are four of them. Is there a fifth one in the other movies?
Yeah, there's two sons, a daughter, a
And a
baby,
daughter.
and those five
Yeah.
total.
And essentially there is, I don't think they ever say the name of the demon. There's a demon that is trying to take over both the husband and the son because they can astral project into the further, and when they're out of their body, they're vulnerable to demons and ghosts. The further is a parallel dimension that's housed with. It was a little unclear in this first movie, like tormented ghosts, but not all ghosts. I wasn't 100% sure. And then insidious things. And then I would say the other main character who pretty much becomes the main character for what, two movies? Three?
Yeah, two movies.
Yeah, and that's Lin Shaye's character Elise. She is I don't even know what to call her. She has psychic abilities, she has demon knowledge, and she cleans houses. And she's a very sweet, friendly, not the type of over aggressive character you would have thought. She just comes in, hello, how are you doing? Let's kick some demon ass.
Yes. She's so great. She's just a nice person. And then she has a great team of Tucker and Specs
Who
who,
are the comedy relief. Yeah.
yeah, with giant flashlights.
So yeah, that's the main thing. When I was watching this movie, I had a couple different thoughts. Again, overall, I really like this film. Um, One of the main ones was the music. The use of the discordant bells was way too much for me. Like the first couple times I heard it, I was like, "This is pretty good." Like like you're getting me to jump without having a jump scare. But then it just kept going and going and going, and I was like, "Thank God they got rid of this in the last act." But the one thing I really want to talk with you about, Mark, is about halfway through the film, and that is when the mother is at home with her children, her baby, playing the piano, goes outside, and a little boy shows up, the ghost of a little boy, and he puts on Tiny Tim's Tiptoe to the Tulips. One of the creepiest things ever, one of the creepiest songs ever, mostly because of Tiny Tim's voice. And I immediately thought, does this ghost carry this record with him? Does she own this record? Because that's not the record she put on. Like how did this ghost do this? And I want to
Wow.
explore that, Mark. Like, do
Yeah.
ghosts make records?
I mean, they can move houses and they can trash. So the red lipstick demon trashes an entire bedroom. So it does have some power. They can enter our world. So maybe it just stole a record somewhere and brought it with. I mean, but you know what? The lantern though that Josh has in the, does Josh take that lantern
No,
with him?
it appears, and they don't explicitly say that in the movies, but in the subsequent sequels, whenever you go in, there's just a lantern there.
So if things appear, then the dancing boy can just make that record appear.
Yeah. I think the easiest thing to say was it just happened to be at the house and he took the time to go through her records, find it, put it out, put it on the correct song that this kid would know. But here's the creepy thing about that. That song wouldn't have been out when that kid died because that was like released in the 60s and then redone in the 90s, I believe. So this kid just knew the weirdest song to find.
Yeah. And because, well, James Wan just thought it would be creepy. He was talking about that. He's like, you know what? That song's creepy. And he's
Well,
like, the first time I ever heard Tiptoe Through the Tulips, I thought to myself, wow, that's serial killer music. He's a very
it
benign
is.
guy, but his whole image to me was creepy. The whole image influenced by want to put it into a movie and use it in a sort of contrasting way. Like you have this high falsetto happy music set against this really disturbing imagery of a ghost of a little kid dancing. It's stuff like this I can get away with because of the low budget. Otherwise, I couldn't get away with stuff like that. So I think he realized how silly it is. He just liked the idea and he put it in. But yeah, well, what? But I mean, Rose Byrne's character is a musician,
Hmm.
so maybe she does have a funky record collection.
She could. So that's sort of this whole movie. Now that you mentioned that, he could just put creepy stuff in. It does feel like there's just a lot of creepy stuff that you're not quite sure why it fully works. And this, I don't know if this is a plot hole or not, but hear me out. Dalton is in the further, right? The oldest son. Is it Dalton?
Yeah, Dalton.
Yeah, so he's in the farther, and he's chained up. And the whole idea is the farther you're in, the longer you're in, the more your body is susceptible to being taken over. Why are the ghosts then going around screwing with everyone in the house? Like the goal really is just should be to keep Dalton out, and they don't have to do anything else, not one thing. That's what I was trying to figure out because it's like, well, are they trying to disturb the family in order to feed off their fear? I just didn't get it.
Just the various people entering their home.
Yeah, and because again, the goal is always just to get into one of them. And so, would you do that by making them friendly, or are they trying to do that by freaking them out, or they just happen to be there because Dalton's so far out, it's like a gateway to get inside the home, and they're angry about many different things.
I think there's a couple things that you could think about. I think one, the door is open.
Okay.
So if you're stuck in the further, I mean, it's like talk to me. You know, if a door's open, you're gonna get in it. So you grab that hand. I'm coming in you, and if you don't let go, I'm staying in you. So you have that. I think the door is open, and these are just spirits who are playful. Some of them are malicious, some of them aren't. I also think that, I mean, if you look at Dark and the Wicked and movies like that, you got to wear down your family. You got to exhaust them. You got to tire them. You got to make them weak. And once you do that, once everyone's weak and tired and overslept and scared and broken, then it's probably easier to destroy the body. It's probably easier to enter the body because you're not thinking. I mean, the red lipstick demon probably doesn't want the parents being strong. You know what I mean? Like the red lipstick demon wants them weak because once they're weak, they're not going to be as strong to fight him. So I think, yeah, I think the door's open, but I also think there are malicious spirits that are going to come in there and just cause some terrible problems for them.
That is what Ed and Lorraine Warren would call the infestation stage, breaking
Oh,
down everything. Um, Also, if I mentioned them, I feel obligated to say they are scammer bad people.
that's why when I was talking about in the movie, in that world,
Yes,
they were good
yeah.
people.
In real
Yeah.
life, bad people.
Mm-hmm.
In the movies, excellent people.
You got to make that delineation between them. But yeah, I listen. There aren't. But when it comes to horror films, I think when you just say, "Listen, the door's opened," and he is in this world, he flew too far. His body is separated. His body is susceptible. They sense that. I think the red lipstick demon and that old lady are probably the most powerful beings in that world. So that's why he ended up with Dalton chained up. Dalton's gonna have a horrible life, but they fix him later on. But I think what they need to do is, I think there's a lot of maliciousness in that world. And even if you're not trying to take over a body, even if you're not that strong, you're still going to want to cause some chaos. Like look at the murder with the woman with the gun inside the house. They It's just a nasty world. And I think when that door is open, like you said, the infestation, they infest the house. And it doesn't matter where you are, they just will infest. And that's scary. But that's all you need for the horror movie. It's like, hey, you flew, you can astral project. This thing grabbed you. The further you are from your body, the easier it is to get you, the further away you are for a longer period of time, your body's easier to get into. So we got to go save you before this horrifying red lipstick demon gets into you. And the only person who can do it is the dad who can travel. So it's just a neat, like once they establish that, I've never once, David, thought about these questions you had. Because for me, watching this, I'm like, oh, okay, the rules are kind of set. There's some silliness, but for the most part, they've explained the who, what, where, when, and why. So I've never even
Mhm.
thought about those plot holes or questions.
It doesn't have to be a plot hole. I'm
That's
very
true.
forgiving of movies.
Yeah.
I think there's a major thing we should talk about with this film, and it is the ending
Eesh.
and
Oof.
decision that they killed Elise, right? They killed her, but then in the rest of this franchise, she is finding ways to come back. And I bet they kicked themselves when they killed her in this movie. And here's the thing though, I think it was the right choice for this movie. Maybe not necessarily the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think James Wan made this expecting a sequel. I
No,
think he
definitely not.
made this with a really nasty. I mean, think about Saw at the ending of it. The guy's dead. Game over. The end of Dead Silence, not good. So the whole death sentence. It's a kamikaze death sentence. Like James Wan doesn't often end movies on a high, and so by having that, by having the Elise, that was rough when I watched it. When the theater cut off and then the music kicked in for the credits, I was like, oh my gosh, that was nasty. But I think that's the luxury you have when you have a $1.5 million budget, is you can, like, when Harry Met Sally, both Nora Ephron and Rob Reiner agreed that the two wouldn't get together at the end. But for box office reasons, they put them together at the end because you want a happy ending. With a $1.5 million budgeted film, you don't really need that happy ending to be profitable. So I kind of like that they did that. But yeah, I mean, she's such an MVP, and the fact that they had to go to prequels to bring her back was creative. I don't think that was their long-term plan. But yeah, I'd kick myself. I would. I would have
Yeah.
him awake and maybe start choking her, and then the credits go.
Ugh, yeah. Another thing for me is, do the jump scares work on subsequent watches?
Yes.
Yes. They all worked for me except the major one we all talk about when you see the demon behind his head, because I've seen that image so many times and know where it is in the film that I know it's coming, but all the other ones still work.
Man, that red lipstick demon always gets me. That scene where she's looking up the roof always gets me. When the demon's in there, that always gets me. When the kid jumps out of the closet, always gets me. I mean, yeah, but I think that's part of, I just give myself up to these movies. I don't sit there and wait for it. So I think I'm just able to enjoy the jump scares, but they don't get old at all. And you were talking about the score, and I found this neat quote where he's like, James Wan said, "I wanted a score that was very unsettling, not something melodic." And I think the score helps set a lot of the tone for the movie, especially since you don't see much happening. And he said, visuals are very important, but the soundscape is important as movies as well. He's like, especially if you're making a movie without a lot of violence and action, you need to make it up somewhere else. So whenever the score went big in this movie, I smiled. It made me happy because it almost hits so comically high that I enjoyed it. Like I felt like I was in on the joke whenever the score just went boom. It's just, I don't know. It made me happy. So I kind of dig the score. I never really got old of it because whenever it really boomed, it made me smile because I just felt like James Wan was having a good time.
He definitely had a good time. That's again, that's why we like him. Are
Hmm.
there any things that you want to talk about that I haven't brought up with the movie itself?
With the movie itself, I mean, it's just a good idea. I've already talked about the family being good. I've already talked about this, but what I like about these demons are when Elise explains it, she's like, yeah, there are things in there that have a more insidious agenda. They are just evil and they are demons. And I think they did a really great job with the old woman and the red lipstick demon with creating something truly scary. Like these are scary, scary, scary creatures. And they look, when that opening jump scene happens with that red lipstick demon, I mean, that thing was nightmare fuel for me. I had a really hard time sleeping. These are scary. Like what I like about them is they're not saying everything in the farther is ultimate evil. Some of them are mischievous. Some of them are lost. Some of them aren't trying to kill you. Some of them are just there because they're in some way or another tortured. So I like that they're not saying all the people in here are horrifying. There's just the worst of the worst, and one of the worst of the worst is attached to you. Like that's very smart. And just saying that gave me goosebumps
Yeah.
because that thing is that red lipstick demon's horrifying with its hooves and red face and just people say it looks like Darth Maul, but I disagree. But I think what I love about it is the monster design as well. I think when you look at the Conjuring, the Conjuring 2 or Annabelle or Jigsaw with the puppet, I mean, James Wan loves puppets, but I think his design of creatures, even Gabriel, I think James Wan does a wonderful job of creature creation and memorable visuals. I mean, if you watch a horror film and you don't remember any of the visuals from it, or you don't remember the killer, it's a flop. But if you can create something really visually striking, like the puppet from Saw, or the creatures from Conjuring 2, The Nun, if you can create a very memorable and kind of iconic villain, then you've succeeded. And I think he does that in this movie. I think that red lipstick demon and that jump scare really burrowed in to people. So I think that's another place where he excels is creating good villains.
Definitely. I have some dumb things we can talk about, but not. We could just maybe rapid fire them.
Okay, yeah, here, hit me with some dumbness.
What was Dalton's award for? Good attendance.
Oh no,
What,
his brother's award was that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
What was it? I
he's
want to know.
just a good kid award, just a good child. You are a very nice child, and you've put up with a lot award. That's my guess.
The other thing I noticed is at the beginning, the credits play for a long time. But what I liked about the slow buildup is I was doing atmosphere, and then at the end they close in on a ghost. They're telling you right up front that this isn't going to be a fake out. Like this is a haunted house movie. Here's one of the ghosts you need to be aware of. I thought that was really cool. And I also thought it was interesting because it sort of brought you in on a high because the movie takes some time to build, and you get that scare right up front.
Yeah, you definitely need that. I mean, most horror movies have that open cold kill. Most Bond films have the old cold
Exactly.
open. You have the Scream movies have the opening kills. So yeah, you need to boost the audience, and that was a smart move on his regard.
Yeah. Is there a better looking cast? I don't know. I don't think there is.
Man, I know this sounds bad, but I'm like Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne. They just both look great on camera.
Yeah,
Like
they
I
do.
think there are just certain faces that look better on camera, and they both look great on camera.
Yeah. And this is another one that I don't have an answer for this, but I'm just going to toss it out there. It seems like both the mother and the father are preoccupied with getting older, but then that didn't go anywhere. So you see at the beginning, Rose Byrne's character is like, "How old do you think I am?" And they're like messing with her kid. And then you see Josh, who's like pulling out gray hair, and then before he goes to bed, he's putting wrinkle cream on his side of his face. I don't know what that means. It sounded like they were maybe playing at like um maybe introducing the concept of death really early, subtly, and that so the audience were in the right mindset. It's just a notice.
Yeah, and also him staying home from school never got finished. Like, this movie isn't flawless. Like when he stays at work, that's really kind of pointless. Um, but yeah, I guess it just makes it more relatable. Like you're in your home and I look at my beard and I see gray. I don't pull it out because I don't care. But maybe it just creates a moment of let's be familiar with these people a little bit.
Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking about is they moved homes after buying a home. And as a millennial who can't buy a home right now, it like what like kind of pulled me out of it for a second. Just me personally,
I
because
mean,
like, do you know how expensive it is?
I guess the 2010 housing market, were we coming out of the collapse then in 2008?
We were still in it somewhat, yeah.
So I mean, maybe the housing values are pretty good.
Yeah, we don't know if this took place like we don't actually know what time period this took
Yeah,
place
that's
in.
true. But yeah, I mean, he's also a college teacher and she's a musician. So like they had some pretty nice homes.
They definitely did, you know. Someone helped them.
Barbara Hershey's character, the mom.
That's funny. Do you want to go through our draft for the podcast?
Yeah, let's do it. You want first pick?
Well, we have to let everyone know what it is.
Okay. Well, yeah, tell him.
Yeah, so we are going to draft creepy songs from horror movies. It was originally going to be creepy, slowed down songs, but honestly, I just think I'm happy to just expand it to creepy songs from horror movies. Not sure how you interpret it, Mark.
Well, all right. So can I make my first pick then, just to kind of break the ice and tell you how, as opposed to me explaining it?
Yes, go ahead.
Now, I know this movie isn't the director should not be praised, but I don't think you can ever forget Jeepers Creepers from Jeepers Creepers at the end when he's just, where'd you get those peepers? And he's taking out the guy's eyeballs. and has
Yeah,
skinned him, and the guy's screaming. So whenever I hear that song, I immediately go back to Jeepers Creepers.
yeah. Rip Justin Long.
Yeah.
Uh, this is on my list too. This is one of the defining creepy moments from my youth, was seeing this in a theater and just being like, oh, gross, love it.
It's mean.
It is. It's really, really, really mean. So I went with, for my first pick, um, Mr. Sandman in Halloween 2.
Yeah.
I,
NH2O.
yeah, and H2O, you're right. Yeah, that's one I haven't seen as much. Um, it just hits everything correct, right? And a side note, I used to love the Halloween 2. I used to think like this is my favorite Halloween. And as I got older, I was like, it's not. It's still the first one. It's still the third one.
Yeah. But it's a perfect song. Like you are like Mr. Sandman. Like that's used so well. And I mean, immediately when you think about it, you kind of go to Halloween. So can I pick a movie that um it's not from a horror movie, but it makes me think of horror?
That's fine. Remember, we can do whatever we want.
Okay. So there's that Steelers Wheel song, "Stuck in the Middle with You" from Reservoir Dogs.
Stuck in the middle. Oh yeah, that's that. I looked at that one too, and I was like, do I want to add this? It is very disturbing.
I mean, I know sometimes we want to go for different picks that aren't super popular, but doesn't matter where I am. If that song comes on, I'm going to Reservoir Dogs and ear being cut off.
Ooh, ugh.
It's brutal.
It is. It's really, really brutal. Um, I took for my second pick, Blue Moon from Werewolf in London.
Oh, I like that.
Blue Moon, that's only the words I know.
I mean, yeah, that's a perfect pick. I love it. I haven't watched that movie in a long time. All right. Wait, just a second. I'll edit this out. I just got to pull up this song. Oh, okay. I guess for my next pick, it's from Blue Velvet, and that's "In Dreams" by Roy Orbison.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just David Lynch movies create such a pervasive and strong and like drenching atmosphere that now whenever I think of "In Dreams," I immediately go to Blue Velvet.
He he's a wild director. I don't know if I could do a episode on one of his movies because it's like
Mm.
I don't actually know what's going on sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I don't want to deal with that.
For my third pick, I'm gonna do Red Right Hand from Scream.
Yeah.
Not only is it a great song, the video for it is wild. Like I had never seen it until recently, and I was like, this is maybe creepier than Scream.
Because you hear that song, you immediately go to
Hmm.
Scream. It's been in every Scream film, I would assume.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a good soundtrack though, back in the day. Remember Scream 2 had Less Than Jake and Creed?
Oh, I forgot about Creed, but now I don't. Yeah, they're making they're touring now again.
Good.
Good for Scott Stapp. Getting his stuff together.
I mean, yeah, those guys were huge. Nickelback and Creed concert would be they could fill arenas. Why not? All right, so this is a weird pick, but I'm gonna take "When the Man Comes Around" from Johnny Cash, and
What is that in?
it's played during the credits of Dawn of the Dead,
Oh,
the
okay.
2004 film, and it's just such a there's just riots and people dying, and then he's talking about when the man comes around. Like it's just his raspy voice and just watching the world go to hell. That I don't know. It works. So yeah.
So tell me if this song's creepy or not. But it's a song in a horror movie that I absolutely love, and it's on the fence for me. "Confident" by Demi Lovato in Happy Death Day. It's not creepy, but I still think it's a good song. If not, I have a
Why
fourth
not? Let's
pick.
have fun with it. If
Let's have
it,
fun with it.
it makes you think of a Blumhouse horror movie, and that's what we're talking about. So I'll
That's
take
basically
that.
why I dropped it in, because I
Yeah.
was like, I could skirt around the rules here.
Oh, I got a good one. I think I'm saving one of the best for close to last, and that's Time's on My Side" from Fallen.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a
Time
very, very long time.
is
Like,
on my side. When Elias Koteas is getting killed, he starts singing that song. That's a great usage of like a song from there. So I got to go with that.
yeah. Okay, so for my last pick, I'm gonna do Echo and the Bunnymen
Yeah.
covering "People Are Strange" in The Lost Boys.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
yeah, that's a so good.
That's a great one. People. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. And I'm gonna do one last
People are
one. "Singing in the
strange.
Rain" by Clockwork Orange. or Singing in the Rain in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, great. I don't think I've ever talked about this on this podcast. I love Singing in the Rain movie. It is insanely good.
Oh,
And if you
yeah.
haven't watched it, go out and watch it. If you're not into musicals, go do it anyway. You will be very happy you
It's
did.
incredible. Great film. Oh, that was a good list. That was a good time.
Yeah, well, we have a soundtrack we can make and put up on send out to movie films and flicks fans.
Well, I should put together a Spotify list from this.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Hey, so where can people find you, man, before we get out of here?
Yeah, so I am on Twitter and it's me, David Cross. You will notice that I'm also known as David Course. Just to announce to your audience that I have a book coming out on November 12th under the pen name David Course. So that's why I have two names now. It's a horror story. Super creepy. There's a lot of goo in it. So if you like goo, hit it up. And that's by Tenebrous Press. It's not up yet, but it will be soon.
I'm a big Goo
The
fan,
link for the pre-order link, yeah.
and I'm not surprised, David. I knew you'd do it.
Yeah, it's taken years and years and years. But I got there, and I got there with something super disturbing, which is fits perfectly with what I talk about on movie films and flicks.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for joining me, David.
Thank you. This is great.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for David Cross, this is Movie Films and Flicks. We'll see you next week.